Alrighty everyone, so in today's sponsor review, we're going to be taking a look over a project that's familiar here to the channel, and it's no other than Cosmos Network. Now, some of you may recall that we talked about Cosmos a good couple times here on the channel, but for those of you who are new to the project, we're not only going to give a bit of a precursor to what Cosmos Network really is, as it's aiming to build a hub or network of different blockchains that are tied together, but outside of this as well, we're going to be spending some time today to talk about a new exciting project that they just recently announced and launched, and it's no other than the Gravity DEX, which is going to allow for Cosmos to have a cross-chain interoperable way to swap between various different types of assets in a growing ecosystem of digital assets. So we're going to be diving into this and more throughout today's conversation, guys. But before we dive into the Gravity DEX, I want to be considerate of those of you who may be hearing about Cosmos for the first time. For those who haven't seen Cosmos before, the way that I would go about explaining it, and they kind of describe it here as the Internet of Blockchains, a very simple way to think about Cosmos is that it basically allows the fostering of different separate networks within the Cosmos ecosystem that can not only communicate with one another, interact with one another, but at the same time maintain their own governance process and maintain a high level of throughput and scalability through their implementation of Tendermint. So it's a really interesting overall protocol. This is, again, I think one of the many protocols that are up there to potentially be one of the layer one competitors in the protocol wars, which we talked about in one of the previous videos. It's definitely one to watch, with the native token being Atom, ATOM. So you guys are welcome to take a look through it. The big statistics here, though, are the range of digital assets that they have, either through the protocol tokens from the different types of networks that are built on it, or the assets that are tokenized and stored on the Cosmos Network. Around $93 billion in digital assets, one of the larger numbers that we've seen. I think a lot of this is the advent of Binance Smart Chain, which is one of the many networks that have forked off the technology from Cosmos, and over 249 apps and services growing in the Cosmos ecosystem. Now, with this kind of range of adoption that Cosmos has seen so far, what I think is really exciting here, as you all know, I'm a big fan of automated market makers, decentralized exchanges as a whole, and DeFi as a whole. I'm very excited to see how Cosmos is making the move into DeFi, and they're doing it in a pretty bold way. They're not just building some kind of DEX or AMM. What they're really doing is building a cross-chain or cross-swapping ecosystem where a variety of different blockchain networks that, again, operate not so much in silos, but they operate in their own fashion with their own governance. They're allowed to trade and interact with one another over the Cosmos ecosystem, as well as eventually working towards bridging other layer one protocols outside of the Cosmos ecosystem into the Cosmos Gravity DEX framework, where you'll be able to trade practically any asset you can imagine. And this to me is really exciting because outside of something like Uniswap or PancakeSwap, for example, where you're trading Binance tokens in this case, or you're trading ERC20 tokens in the Ethereum network, right? You're now actually able to cross swap across different assets on different chains and standards. And that's very, very exciting. I think that's a very phenomenal potential opportunity here, as Cosmos' framework has been seen as quite popular in the sense of providing scalability. Again, as I mentioned, Binance being one of the biggest adopters here of Cosmos with the Binance Smart Chain. Now, in order to actually understand what it's like to interact with the Gravity DEX, we're going to have to use an interface. And what better way to do that than to use the first premier interface for the Gravity DEX in order to actually engage with the protocol than Emeris. So Emeris is kind of the first major front-end application you guys can utilize today with a Chrome extension such as the Kiter wallet, where you have your wallet and your different types of assets based in the Cosmos network, where you can actually go ahead and trade cross-chain between these different types of assets. Again, the overall design looks really clean. It's very nice for a desktop management tool. What's really nice is that it's not just a swap tool, but it's a place where you can really visualize your assets very cleanly. So let's take a look here as we go throughout the demo account here. We've got a list of different assets here. We got 10 different types of assets within the Cosmos network and different types of networks that we're going to be able to swap cross-chain. Let's say, for example, I want to swap some of my Atom tokens for persistence. I think maybe it's a good project, or I want to get some more exposure to it. I just simply come over here. I already have my default token I want to swap from and to listed out here. I can click the max button if I wanted to trade all of them, but just for simplicity's sake and to really speak to the democracy and openness of the scalability that Tendermint offers through the Cosmos network, I can simply trade 2 tokens, right? Now, usually if I did this on Ethereum, which is around $32 within the actual trade, I would get completely eaten up by network fees, and it just wouldn't make sense to use it at this point. I better be using a layer 2 solution and hope that there's a fiat on-ramp that's going to take me out of that ecosystem, right? Well, we can see here, I'm not only going to get roughly about the amount that I'm trading, a little bit less, as of course you're again going to have some kind of slippage, but outside of this as well, you have a variety of fees, as we'll see, right? We're going to go ahead, we can see the fees here. Go ahead and click review. We get a detailed view here of the minimum amount we'll receive if we swap, the limit price, the fees involved, right? Whether it be the swap or transaction fee for the network, right? And we can see every bit of detail that we'd want to see here. And we just simply go ahead and, again, if you hadn't already, connect your wallet and you go through processing the swap. It's really streamlined. And the Kiter wallet, I'll say from first-hand experience, guys, is a really great mobile extension. We used it for e-money. We've used it for a variety of different type of Cosmos projects. So again, it's kind of the standard that you want to use here. It works great with Emeris. But again, the overall look and feel is really nice. You can see as well that you can contribute to pools. So if you want to add liquidity for your favorite token pairs within the Cosmos framework, you guys are welcome to do that. And again, the overall framework here for receiving or sending transactions, seeing the list of different types of assets on chain with their market caps, it's all here. It's not overtly complex. It's simple. It gives you exactly what you need. Now, let's go ahead and actually dive into some of the details here. Why is the Gravity DEX a really exciting technology here to watch in regards to the Cosmos ecosystem? So this launched back in mid-July here. Right, the announcement of the protocol coming live. And there's a few key things that are important to notice, right? With the ecosystem having the assets under management it has, this gives the Gravity DEX a lot of value as you've got the liquidity to be able to trade, right? And that alone is the first major step here. You can build the greatest kind of AMM or DEX, but if you don't have the assets that actually require to be swapped between one another or the liquidity, it really doesn't make sense to build this kind of technology. Luckily, we've got over $65 billion of assets here within these ecosystems that can now be traded. So that's a very, very exciting thing. Doesn't mean that that's direct liquidity in the DEX. It's important to note that. But at the same time, this is the liquidity that can start to trade here. And I think it's only comparable in this case to the amount of liquidity you find in the Ethereum ecosystem. That being said, there's a really important component that Ethereum still hasn't nailed down yet that Cosmos has. And that is cheap transactions. Now, I understand some of you might argue that, yeah, there's layer 2 systems like Optimism or Polygon's, Uniswap implementations like QuickSwap, right? There's a lot of different layer 2s out there. The problem is that you have to bridge into these ecosystems. Whereas natively on the Cosmos network here, an average swap is going to cost you around 8 cents. 8 cents to make a swap, right? They charge around 0.3% standard liquidity provision fee that gets charged on practically any AMM, doesn't matter what chain you're looking at, and that averages out to around 8 cents. 8 cents here for transaction fees. The network fee has been the biggest roadblock here for people to engage in the DeFi space. So it's really exciting to see that with the Tendermint implementation for consensus, that scalability is practically not only guaranteed, it's showcasing through the numbers here for network fees. So again, really like, again, how this is working. Now they're also utilizing a new model, the equivalent swap price model or ESPM, that improves price discovery for assets. So you have a lot of different benefits here that we can dive into. And there's a nice article they put together talking about 11 reasons why, in this case, the Gravity DEX is probably far beyond that of traditional AMMs in the sense of its technology. Again, technology doesn't always stand at the centerpiece. Again, it does really matter if you can build the community, the ecosystem. You can have cheap transactions, but you need that liquidity. You need the opportunities there. That being said, though, on the sense of technology, Gravity DEX is standing out quite nicely. At least it has a lot of good traits. So I highlighted a couple here that I want to talk about here. There's a wide list here, but there's some down here actually around 6 to 7 that actually interested me, right? So improved order execution, right? So one big problem that you can run into if you're utilizing any AMM on the Ethereum blockchain is you basically have no framework to prevent people from front running you. And this actually becomes a very big issue because people who realize a certain opportunity to front run you where it makes sense will likely pay a higher gas fee, fill in their order first, and it can be to a degree of slippage where, you have to replace your trade and pay another network fee, and waste more time and possibly miss market opportunities and pay a higher price, right? Think about it as the kind of frustration of high frequency trading, but on a much more apparent degree, where you're inevitably paying a higher price than the market rate you probably agreed to or wanted to pay initially when you wanted to make the trade. What's really great here is that with this improved order execution, getting the actual market rate here and guaranteeing that you can't be front run is going to provide a much better trading experience. It's going to get you better market rates and make the use case of a DEX much more important, because you should care just as much not only about network fees and the liquidity provision fee that you're going to have to pay, which is always going to be around 0.3% to 0.4% if you're considering the network fee for most traders, but the slippage as well, the spread in this case that you're going to have to pay in order to make that trade, right? Now, in the sense of slippage as well, I want to talk about order number 7 here, which is the order book capability. My apologies. So order book capability is really important here because as much as AMMs are phenomenal technology, and let's be honest, most of the time for those of you who guys are trading out there, you guys are probably in the mindset of doing market orders, right? If you see an opportunity, you like getting in there, right? Now, some of you might use limit orders and really actively day trade, and that's fine, but it isn't the majority of traders here, right? The ability, though, to have and satisfy both worlds is really, really great. To be able to satisfy the market orders of swapping instantly from one token to another, that's the beauty of AMMs, but also having a semi-order book functionality where you still can set in orders to be sold at specified price points, whether it be that you want to buy at a specific price point and swap your stable coins or another altcoin to another crypto, or vice versa, that you want to sell at a higher price. Having that limit order functionality is really great. And still to this day, Uniswap and a lot of AMMs don't offer that, right? They're focused on dramatically simplifying it, keeping for the broad user base who just want to swap in and out of token. But for active traders and really bringing over some of that liquidity from centralized exchanges, we're going to need those traditional trading functionalities who know how to follow specified strategies that wait for specific order prices to get filled or certain standards to be met before placing trades. So again, these are the two ones that to me personally, I just want to share with you guys again. I'm here to basically showcase what I really like about it. These are two things that really get me excited, providing a better overall trading experience. But there's a whole list here of the overall ecosystem here where you can start to get a good idea of how Gravity DEX stands. You can see here that the Testnet competition was a huge success here, nearly $1 billion in trading volume. You had a pool investment of around $190 million and over 715,000 transactions. On Testnet, that's pretty impressive, right? And if this technology, so far it seemed in Testnet, worked really well, I'm highly confident it's going to continue to work well and grow within the overall mainnet ecosystem. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about here, which is not so much exactly focused on just the Gravity DEX here, but Cosmos as an ecosystem. You know, as we talk about Tendermint, the consensus mechanism, it's also important to understand that practically every chain in this case, whether you're talking about Binance Smart Chain or you're talking about, for example, some of the new upcoming technologies built on the overall Cosmos ecosystem, such as Base Ledger from the Unibright and Provide ecosystem, the important thing to understand here is why proof of stake is going to be very, very impactful long term, right? No, I completely agree, and they even pointed out in this article here, I think this is a very relevant point to talk about, how Bitcoin overall, Bitcoin mining, whether it's energy consumption or yearly cost, is still dwarfed by a large institutional banking infrastructure, from gold mining, from all types of different commodity production out there. There are a lot of other bad villains in the world that outpace Bitcoin mining, electricity consumption, or yearly cost, right? That's understandable. But what isn't understandable here and is undeniable is the sheer fact of a per consumption basis. Per transaction you make, you're consuming way more than you would with a traditional bank transfer or other forms of energy consumption per engaging in certain types of activities. It's undeniable, guys. We can't ignore that. Now, of course, a lot of it could be renewable, etc. But the bottom line here is that we want to look for some consensus mechanisms that are nearly just as secure, if not just as secure as proof of work, but also having the framework here where we can have less energy consumption. And this is a big focus of Cosmos as it's aiming to build out a variety of different chains. They crunch the numbers here. You guys are welcome to dive into the details if you'd like, but understanding what it takes to run validated consensus nodes on Cosmos to actually have a framework for consensus with over 100,000 Cosmos blockchains combined. you would still have less energy consumption than what Ethereum consumes per year. Now, of course, Ethereum is moving towards proof of stake, but the important thing to understand is that this is, again, focusing here on how Tendermint's consensus mechanism and how it actually validates authority is able to not only scale long-term, but also scale in an environmental sense. So I think this is really cool. Again, I've grown more and more supportive of proof of stake over the past few years. There just really hasn't been any cause for concern about proof of stake. There's a ton of academic research around it. So again, if you guys are looking for those layer one networks, again, most of them are taking the narrative of proof of stake as the focus for the future. It not only adds economic benefits for the token holders, but outside of that as well, and the end of it all allows for a framework for the network to scale. So again, stepping back here again towards Gravity, I again want to emphasize that you guys should definitely do some due diligence, take a look into the protocol, check it out for yourself. The bottom line is this: I think Cosmos, as one of those ecosystems that could potentially be a part of the protocols, is one to watch. It's definitely one that I think has been leading the way as we see major exchange platforms like Binance building within this ecosystem. But outside of that, we have a variety of other interesting projects, ones we've talked about here on the channel, like eMoney, Unibright, a lot of different players utilizing the Tendermint consensus framework and the SDK for Cosmos to build out their ecosystems. And as more of these really exciting ecosystems build and therefore bring users, liquidity, Cosmos has really seemed to win as a potential framework that could compete against Ethereum and other networks. And adding the bridge and other tools to bring existing assets from the Ethereum ecosystem into Cosmos, I gotta say, I think it's definitely giving Ethereum and other networks a run for its money in this case. So again, I recommend you guys do your own due diligence on it. I'd love to see Cosmos continue to build, continue to develop, but really don't have anything critical to say. I just think that, again, Cosmos, like any other layer one competitor, it's still in the early stages of reaching to the point where Ethereum is. But it's got a lot of assets under management, and it's certainly in the top 5 plays in this case, I think, for other competing layer ones, not to mention not only in the sense of liquidity, but also providing that user experience and bettering upon that user experience from what you can find on networks like Ethereum. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you all for letting me ramble as per usual. And if you like the rambling, give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate it if you guys show that support for the video. If you guys have any ideas, comments, or feedback or questions, you're always welcome to leave it down below in the comments. And I love to hear from you guys, so please feel free to do so. That being said, have a wonderful day, everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.